Hello everyone, welcome back to the KMTRADERS channel. So this is the full market analysis volume 96, just giving you a recap of what's happening this week, compare our analysis from our last week's video and give you some insight for this week ahead. So we are going to start off with gold. So what we were looking at last week was this potential turnover in the market. I was anticipating a short from the 1840 barrier because I was thinking price was going to reject it. But obviously we can see that price just ran through. So we did mention this, that there was a possibility in the with our drawings that we've printed out here that we could press 1840, and if we did, we're essentially looking for retest the entries on the upside. So I'm thinking that whilst we have broke the 1840 with clear conviction, I think what I'm now looking to target is to see if we can go to 1920 to 1910, so roughly this area here now. So essentially we can get rid of this, but we can see the price has massively stepped up right now, and so I don't really want to participate in the market right now. Just essentially what I'm going to be doing is waiting for a bit of a pullback and then pretty much a continuation trade. So realistically, this is probably going to take some time because we have missed this low here. So I mean, by all means you could take a counter trend trade, but I do believe that that will be quite difficult. Well, they usually are in my opinion, but that's not good. Don't let that stop you from, see, if you're wanting to take a sell trade, then do it. But ideally, we just need to wait for price to turn back down and pull back. So this could pull back anywhere, but we're essentially looking at this low here. So not really looking for price to get lower than this. So if price does go lower than this, then we're going to be pushing lower. So I'm really going to use this as my last resort for the bullish momentum. So we're going to play within this range here. So what we're going to do is just see what happens here, and we'll take a few weeks or maybe a few days, but what we'll probably notice is that maybe in this week we'll start to see price push up, and then maybe towards the mid of the week it'll start to turn, and then the second week it'll start to push, and then maybe in the week after that it may start to reverse slowly during the next week, and so on. So I hope you can kind of understand what I'm trying to explain here, is just that this won't happen quickly. Essentially this is the map and the roadmap that we're trying to look into doing, and ultimately we're trying to see if we can get up to here. So you don't need to obviously keep this you don't need to make sure that price does this, because we're going to come back every week obviously, and just mark up and adjust our annotations as we go along. But again, if you are looking to trade this in the current direction, I would be arguably, you could just say we're still bullish here. So until price gives us a reason to sell off, or for us to see price reverse and give us this counter trend move, we just need to wait for that sell pressure to kick in. And as I can see right now, there's not really anything happening in here, so we can assume for this week and Monday, let's just say, that price is wanting to stay bullish. Okay, so I hope that kind of makes sense. Had a bit of an alternative change here, but gold needed that after we've broken this 1840 barrier that I was speaking about for quite a long time now. So since the start of October we were possibly looking at turnover, but yeah, we'll see what happens with this one, and we'll just take it forward from next week. So looking at Euro USD, so we were looking at for price to potentially make a reversal. There was a very strong sell-off obviously this week. I was particularly looking at a sell from here in our zone, but for us obviously price really rapidly pushed lower and really fast, so that's not a problem at all. We're not FOMOing this move at all. What we're going to be doing now for our next move is potentially just waiting for price to come back in and pretty much do another retest as well. So maybe at around the 1.5 level. But then this is now gearing up for price action to change and switch momentum towards the upside. So remember, we're still looking for bullish opportunities on this pair, because ultimately long term we're thinking price can reach all the way up to 1.23, so that's a very far way, as I keep mentioning on the weekly videos. But anyway, for this week we're just probably looking for this setup scenario, but if we start to break the 1.16 barrier, then we could be looking at essentially this formation happening where price breaks it, and we're going to be looking at a retest. So just keep those two situations in mind. But for now, I'm still thinking that price is still bearish as we had that massive drop off. So let's just see if we can continue selling off from here. Nzd Usd, what we looked at last week was a possible sell, but now we're in a position that that we could be switching up towards the upside, and that's what we were looking at from last week. So essentially we're looking at a nice buying opportunity. So this could be the momentum switching over, but I feel like price could drop a bit lower, so I'm going to leave it at neutral level. So whether this is the reversal point or whether price goes up a little bit then pops back down, we're trying to see if we can buy it back up, and we're going to be hedging our way into 0.73. So that's ideally where I'm looking into. So ideally we want to see price stay above this zone here, so roughly 0.69. We're hoping for price to kind of reject off this. So if price does start to break through this level, and even to 0.68, that could potentially mean that we have some sell-off continuing into the market, so we will look to add on to sells. But for now I'm quite bullish on this long term speaking, so we just need to stay patient on this and see if we can catch that switch to the upside. So moving on to Aud Usd, my anticipation for last week was pretty much a sell, I do believe, but again this one was quite tricky because I did think price was going to make a bit of a pullback up here. So price was to turn all the way up to the upside and probably have some sort of reversal level here, but price obviously pushed lower. So what we're now expecting is pretty much another reversal, because now we've met this, you know, as we've satisfied the push down and it created this leg. What we could be looking into is either one more push lower, or that this is now the new low that's being created. So essentially this could now be the reversal point, that's what I'm trying to say. Let's just move this lower. And so what will either happen is we'll get the reversal point here and this will hold, then we could look at buying positions and holding it all the way up to the upside into 0.77, or we could be looking at price to make a push lower, and ideally I don't want to go anywhere lower than this level really here. So between basically 0.72, I don't really want to go any lower than that, but if we start to cut down with strength, then we could be looking at some sell-off opportunities like so. So just keeping that in mind. But yeah, so what we can see now is just this bullish point in the market right now. We're not sure if this is going to hold, so this is why you have to keep in mind with price action, and just stay patient and see what happens. Usd Jpy was actually looking for more continuations to the downside, but after we've started to, you know, push a bit higher and higher, we've got our zone here, but I probably will expand it to roughly 114.5. so essentially if we get a break up of this zone, essentially we're going to be looking at continuation trades. There is a little bit of pressure that I'm thinking about, is that we could get a bit of a drop and then push into this area. What we'll do then is if we start to see some rejections coming into play, then we could take a sell back down. So that is one way that I'm looking to take a sell, but as price is quite bullish here, I'm quite aware that this could probably pull back a little bit and then continue higher. So that's why maybe at the start of the week we could be looking at a bit of a dip first, and then trying to get our buy into this area here, so that then we can potentially get a sell if we get that rejection. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. It sounds very complicated, it really depends if we can get an entry, but essentially those are the two scenarios that I'm looking into. So if we just get a big bull run towards the upside, breaking the 114 barrier, I'll be looking for a pullback, pretty much a retest, waiting for that to happen, and then we can look at more continuation trades towards the upside. But either way, it really depends on how we respond to 114.5. If we get a rejection, we can look at continuations lower, so that's pretty much ideal, and we can look to target roughly at 112, even 112.5. So we've got some fair way to go. Cad and Jpy. So for this, we're essentially looking at this bull run. I think from last week we were looking at a sell-off. This happened at Asian session, so we couldn't really get in on this one. So the opportunity here is that price will run through now. So we've had the sell down, or price will pop back up. So I'll probably just leave this on. But we're essentially looking for price to. So if I do something like this, actually. So what this is going to indicate, this first one, is that price will push up, make one more high, then drop off lower, or we'll get this second one where this lower the market will hold. I really doubt it, because I feel like this sell-off pressure was quite strong. So maybe there could be, maybe there could be a switch. Maybe there doesn't have to be. Maybe it will run through. We just need to see, but we could keep in mind that price could reverse up. Price could reverse up here and then make a reversal towards the downside and then shoot up, or this will be the lower the point in the market and price will just start to rally to the upside. Okay, so we're only looking to target 93, but we will hedge our, lock in some profits on the way if we can see any potential moves, and yeah, we'll see what's to come from that. Euro JPY. So for this, essentially we're waiting for price to give us a reason to push higher. We are still expecting price to probably fall just a bit lower, so that's something that we could look into. But ideally, price may want to sell. Price may want to trade up just a little bit higher. So we may get a short-term reversal. So let it be known that something we get like this. In which, I wouldn't really advise it, but you can obviously take some buys. But what I'm personally going to be looking for is pretty much still a bit of a drop lower, probably into 129, maybe 129.5. That could give us a reason at some point, and watch that level for rejections. Let me put this to the side. But yeah, I'm looking to take the long-term buys towards the upside into 134. And I probably will get rid of this one now. That's just ultimately the bias that we've got. I'm not really favoring this short-term move yet. I'm still watching this downtrend, because this is a very strong move here. So I'm just being aware that this could be just a little pullback, in the sense where price will want to push up higher. So just keeping aware of that. Nzd Jpy. Actually, yeah, sorry, we should have removed this by now. I'm not trading. By the way, I'm not trading this one anymore, so we'll get rid of that for next week. I might as well just do it now, actually. So I'll just pop this off. Oops. So yeah, we decided that we're not going to be trading this or following this pair anymore. And again, just to remind ourselves, is that Aud Jpy is very similar. So I just wanted to focus on one of them rather than the all of them, both of them together. But yeah, so let's take a look at Aed Jpy. So what I've got anticipated for this pair is that we were expecting a pullback at some point and then for price to continue lower. So in my eyes, we've not really had that that pullback just yet. And I remember that overall I am still waiting for buying opportunities. So this is why we could be looking at maybe some buying options. Maybe an opportunity for any buying positions that we can. So there could be a buying position here that price runs up, but then we could be looking at a sell opportunity to take it back down, to take out the lows, and then for price to, if we start to reject and see price start to reverse around 83 or the 82.5 level, Hold on, let me mark this low. It's 82.5. If we start to see price, start to reverse and switch over, this could be an indication that we could be heading into 86 or 86 to take out this zone basically and push higher. So that's ultimately the main bias here. The second drawing I've got here is that if price just starts to absolutely rally from here, I'll be looking at continuation trades to aim higher. So they're the options that I'm potentially thinking. But yeah, we'll see what happens with AUD. So coming into our last two pairs, what we spoke at last week was pretty much we were in a range. I didn't really want to give an estimation of what was going to happen. So this is why I draw two scenarios on the up and down side. So we ultimately are bullish, but what I'm thinking for now is that this could be the the leg that starts to push up just a little bit higher. So essentially we've got this drawn here, so this could be just this low here, and effectively what we're trying to do now is, if we just get rid of this, is to see if this is now the turning point or if we're going to get one more push up higher. So essentially that's what I'm going to do in a second. So what I'm going to do is just see what happens here and see if we can make a reversal and push lower. So we can get rid of this now, and where we're still trying to target is this low, so 91 or into 90 or 89. So it's one of those two really, but we're still trying to push lower. Okay, that's the long-term suggestion, but that's not to say that if let's take a look. If price was to drop down a bit, you could take some counter trend trades if price does want to rally. You just be mindful that we're wanting to push lower. That's the ultimate bias. So that's where I'm personally looking for the market to go. And finally, for this week's video, USD Cad. So this one has been very tricky. I did think that with this wick down, I did think that price was going to switch over to the downside. So I was actually looking for sells. And that's where this bias came in from last week. But as we see, price is rallying up very nicely. I think still that we are still capable of pushing lower. We just need to see, obviously. So what we could expect price to do is, if we just move this aside, is, let me get rid of this. Oh, sorry. Let me just get rid of this. So essentially what I'm going to be doing is probably waiting for price to give us the intention to turn over. Sorry about that. So we're essentially waiting for price to give us the intention to turn over. So what could happen is price could, pretty much respect this bullish pressure and continue up higher, and that's where you could look at a buy. Or this will completely just shoot down and just bullet down. So I'll just put that on this as a third option, and if that happens, then price is going to just rally through. But yeah, ultimately we're still waiting for price to push lower, so we can definitely see what will potentially come from this. So yeah, we just have to stay patient and pretty much understand that price still probably could go lower, or it could, if we start to break this high here, 1275, even 128, might as well mark it in. We could expect price to continuate higher, so ultimately that's what we're going to be doing. But yeah, that's pretty much all for this week. That's all I have. In terms of the crypto analysis, I won't be doing them on a weekly basis anymore, as if you didn't catch that message. I'll be just doing individual pairs that once I feel like I need to update something, that's how I'll do it. But yeah, because I'm focusing mostly on Forex pairs, it kind of just makes sense to put my time and energy into Forex. And when things are changing on the crypto, because we're looking at it from a higher time frame perspective, it's going to really take some time. So I've got levels drawn out there, so don't worry. But if you have any questions about the crypto stuff, feel free to message me and I'll give you my insight on that. But I don't feel like you probably will need to, because I think what we'll try and do is just try give you enough information and enough valid points to watch out for, so that if price does hit that point, then that's when you should expect a video from me, if that makes sense. So that's how I'm trying to operate the crypto side of things. But with Forex, I'm just going to still carry on doing the same weekly, day in, day out, and week in, week out videos. Ultimately, just to give you my insights and what I'm thinking with the market. Okay, guys. So obviously, if you made it all the way to the end of the video, and if you got some value from this video, feel free to drop a like. Make sure you're subscribed. And obviously, I do appreciate your time for listening, guys. So thank you very much, and we'll see you all in our next week's video.